I love Houseki no Kuni. It's one of the best things I've ever read, and I can confidently call it peak fiction. It is a manga that started serializing on October 25th, 2012, and later got a single core anime adaptation made by Studio Orange on October 7th, 2017. Its author Haruka Ichikawa has not only managed to put the series on hiatus because she got a PlayStation 5, but she also filled Houseki no Kuni with interesting explorations of themes of change, morality, and finding one's purpose. And the character that's being used to explore these themes the most is none other than the show's protagonist, Phosphophyllite. This video will contain spoilers for Houseki no Kuni manga up to chapter 95, which is the latest chapter as of the release of this video, so I would recommend for you to pause the video right now and go and read it. Trust me, it is an amazing read. Also, I'll be calling Phos a she for the entire video because I am too lazy to say they every time. Phos is a great protagonist that undergoes a lot of change throughout the series, both physically and mentally. Phos is the youngest gem out of the show's cast, and in addition to having a nice ass, she also has the second lowest hardness out of all of the gems, only a 3.5. This doesn't sound so bad until you find out how much of a clumsy dumbass Phos is. Due to that, Phos is really prone to breaking herself. Her fragility does not help this either, as I said before, her hardness is only 3.5. This causes her to break fairly frequently, thus rendering her useless, unable to perform any kind of basic job the other gems do. So Phos just spends her days doing absolutely nothing, just like me. It is only after meeting Cinnabar that Phos starts to yearn for a purpose in her life. You can draw a lot of parallels between Cinnabar and Phos. For example, both of them are useless. Cinnabar cannot do any job with the other gems because of the mercury she outputs, as it is harmful to the gems. Phos on the other hand is just a fucking idiot. Phos doesn't want to be useful to others but are unable to. Though this feeling of being useless is shown differently between Phos and Cinnabar. Whereas Cinnabar has gotten so fed up with being useless that she's fine with the idea of Lunarians taking her away, Phos is just chilling. She does want to fight, but that is all. Phos finds some sort of purpose initially from promising to Cinnabar that she'll find a fun job for her, promising that she will give her a purpose. But the desire to get rid of the feeling of being useless and have a purpose manifests in Phos only after she gets her legs stolen. When Phos is struggling to move her new legs, she feels genuinely useless. The desire to get rid of the uselessness is what allows her to move. The guilt she feels from making the others go through all the trouble of searching for her adds to her desire to stop being useless. What adds to the feeling of being useless though is Phos failing to save Androtype. This breaks Phos, pun intended. After realizing how useless she is, she decided to do the one and only thing she can do: take up Androtype's purpose for herself. It is during this time that Phos forgets her promise to Cinnabar. She abandons the quest to find purpose for Cinnabar when she has found one for herself. Throughout the story, Phos continues to change, and so is her purpose. After taking up Androtype's duty, her purpose becomes finding out the truth about the Lunarians, and after that her purpose becomes the desire to get Sensei to pray for the Lunarians. As Phos continues changing and having a purpose, she slowly distances from Cinnabar. Having forgotten her promise to her, she stops looking for a job for her after going to the moon. Thus, Cinnabar stays purposeless for most of the story. After Phos finds a purpose for herself, all the parallels she shares with Cinnabar slowly change into points of contrast. The characters are slowly becoming false for each other in a way. One of them has found a purpose, the other one hasn't. One of them is on the side of the Lunarians, one of them is on the side of the gems. And the parallels they used to share about being useless change into a parallel of not being useless actually. Phos sets out on a quest to get Sensei to pray, and while doing that becomes the leader of the Moon Gems. She is no longer useless. Cinnabar on the other hand stops being useless only due to Phos's actions, although indirectly. The way Earth's gems bond together with the Sensei due to Phos's attacks is what causes them to bond with Cinnabar. Cinnabar finally can be with others. She has no need for a fun job right now, because her new purpose for living is just being with others. And although Phos does not remember the promise, she's the one who fulfilled it and gave Cinnabar a purpose. As I said before, Phos undergoes a lot of change throughout the story. Every time Phos gets a replacement for her body, she changes as a person. Every time Phos loses a part of her body, and she loses a lot of her body, she loses a part of herself and her memories like all gems do. As she loses more and more memories, she gets them overwritten with new ones. Every major change in her design is accompanied by a major change in her personality. It starts out with the loss of her legs. Since the change to her design is really small, the change in her personality stays small too. Phos just starts to become determined about reaching her goals. It is only after the second change that Phos starts to massively differ from herself at the start. During the winter arc, Phos is tasked to deal with the ice laws with Antarctine, and Phos starts to hear the ice laws talk. Phos, denying her schizophrenia, decides to ignore the ice floe's proposition of putting her arms in the water and ended up tripping and falling into the water instead. This caused her to lose her arms. Being unable to perform any kind of task now, Phos starts to feel useless. But the actual change in her personality does not come until she gets a replacement for her arms and watches Antarctite get destroyed. Phos starts being angry about how useless she is, so angry in fact that she goes all out of her way to reclaim Antarctite from the Lunarians, but she ends up failing. This traumatizes Phos. This trauma she gets from being unable to save Antarctite makes her take up Antarctite's job and her personality. She starts to act like Antarctite, use Antarctite's sword, and even changes her hairstyle to match Antarctite's hairstyle. The way she tries to replicate Antarctite shows how she is trying to gloss over the fact that Antarctite has been taken away by being the new Antarctite. By adopting Antarctite's cold and stoic personality, we as the viewers or readers get to see the first major change in Phos's personality. A complete 180 from the cheerful, carefree Phos from the start. But even though she becomes a more serious person, her old self can still be seen sometimes. At this point, Phos has changed, but she has not changed into a different person. The point at which Phos starts to become truly different is when she gets her head replaced. A ship of Theseus is a thought experiment which raises the question of whether an object which had all of its components replaced remains fundamentally the same object. This is an idea which Houseki and Kuni likes to toy with. This idea starts to shine only after Phos becomes the Postmoon Fox. Postmoon Fox is really different from Phos at the start of the series, or post-Winter Phos. Phos transitions into Postmoon Fox by getting 3 changes to her design. The first one is obtaining the lapis lazuli head due to losing her own head to the Lunarians. This makes Phos schizophrenic even more, and she starts to talk to Lapis in her sleep. From those conversations, she decided to go to the moon to find out the truth about Sensei. It is only after getting the second major change to her design that she starts to become vastly different from how she used to be. By changing her outfit into more Lunarian-like, not only does it show that she has switched sides and joined the Lunarians while abandoning the gems she used to consider her friends and family, it is also the biggest design change in this series until Phos literally gets completely broken. Super Eyepatch Wolf has made a great video on character design, which I recommend for you to watch after this video, link will be in the description, in which he breaks down the characters with great design just to show how little details can be used to express something about a character. And this design is a perfect example of great character design. The main change in his design which shows how Phos changed as a person is the color scheme she has. The fact that her hair has now changed from mint green to royal blue tells us a lot about Phos as a character. Mint green is known to symbolize tranquility and to have a calming effect, which is represented by the tranquil life Phos lived up until going to the moon. After getting her head replaced with Lapis's head, she now has a royal blue color to her hair. Royal blue is known to be a symbol of superiority, a trait that Phos does develop as she becomes the leader of the Moon Gems, and later on in the series literally becomes a superior being to Gems and Sensei by literally becoming pseudo-human. In addition to that, her hair also has bits and pieces of pyrite in it, which is often known as fool's gold. This is because pyrite has this goldish yellow color which makes people often mistake it for gold. Yellow is known to symbolize happiness and optimism, which aren't traits Postmoon Fox has. Since pyrite is known as fool's gold, we can infer that those meanings for yellow is something she lacks. But yellow is also known to symbolize egoism and madness, which are traits Postmoon Fox develops. I think that since pyrite is known as fool's gold, this means that all the positives of gold as a material are non-existent in pyrite, the same way as all the positive meanings of the color yellow do not exist in Phos at this moment in the story. Her outfit also gets an inverted color scheme. Her old outfit being a black, mundane uniform switches to a flashy white one. Black is a symbol for power, fear, strength, elegance, formality, aggression, authority, and rebellion. Out of these, the only trait that Phos possesses at the start of the series is some bits of formality. But after going to the moon, she seems to gain the other traits. White on the other hand is a symbol for purity, innocence, understanding, faith, and perfection. None of these are traits which are present in Postmoon Fox. I believe that these outfit colors are supposed to represent what Phos doesn't have. At the start of the series, Phos does not have the power or strength, she's not very elegant or formal, and shows no signs of aggression, authority, or rebellion. After becoming the Postmoon Fox, she shows no signs of purity or innocence, very little understanding towards the other gems, no faith in her sensei, and is clearly made out to be imperfect both physically and mentally, as both her body and mind continue to break and crumble. On the moon, Phos gains another major change to her design. She gets her eye replaced with a synthetic pearl replacement, which emits light and cannot be closed. The emitting light part could be alluding to how she acts as a kind of guiding light to the gems who decide to go to the moon with her. The fact that it cannot be closed also may allude to how she does not choose who she is influencing, as seen in how she changes the lives of Earth gems for the better after her attack on them, even though that was not her intention. After becoming Postmoon Fox, Phos starts to experience different kinds of changes. She starts to break a lot, mostly by the actions of others. At one point, Phos gets broken by board and is being reassembled by Sensei for 220 years. This is not only a reference to the length of the hiatus the series is on right now, but it is also the start of Phos's slow and gradual path of crumbling from greatness. After this point, Phos gets broken a lot. Being now disfigured, she continues to act upon her desire to get Sensei to pray for the Lunarians. Having lost her synthetic pearl eye replacement, she is no longer shown to be having any kind of positive influence on anyone. And from this point on, Phos begins to harbor hatred for the gems. She goes down to Earth with some of the moon gems and ends up destroying every Earth gem while also getting some of the moon gems destroyed. To show just how much she has changed as a person and her mentality now, she destroys Euclid, who tries to reason with her, Jade, who tries to fight her, and Cinnabar, the person who gave Phos some kind of a purpose. Phos, remembering neither the purpose nor Cinnabar, destroys her without problem, and as she approaches Sensei, she suddenly remembers herself from the start of the series, sadly unaware that that is herself. She comments on how adorable her old self is, and moves on to break Sensei. The part where Phos does not recognize herself at the start of the series truly cements this idea of a ship of this season Phos. In a way, it is still Phos, but she has changed so much that it might as well be a different person. Phos is no longer the Phos from the start of the series. Gone is the carefree, cheerful Phos. Now all there is a broken, ruthless mess of a person. It is no surprise that Phos is a morally grey character. She perceives her actions as justifiable. Well, until she actually goes unhinged. After that point, she's just really angry. But before she breaks, she believes that what she does is for the betterment of the gems. Of course, she does not know that getting Sensei to pray will cause all life to be wiped out with the Lunarians. But just because Phos is being perceived hostile by the Earth gems when she is trying to be good does not fully show how morally grey of a character she really is. The thing that shows it best is her ruthlessness. The definition of ruthlessness is the quality of lacking pity or compassion for others. And the best demonstration of it is how she decided to destroy every Earth gem just to get Sensei to pray. Although there is more to the desire to destroy every Earth gem, particularly her hatred towards them for not understanding her when in reality she didn't want to try to understand them either, she shows no pity whatsoever to any gem that she faces. Be it Euclid trying to reason with her and begging for the lives to be spared, Jade asking for forgiveness for not understanding Phos, or Cinnabar being thankful for the purpose she got due to Phos's actions. Phos destroys all of them, and in the end ends up destroying Sensei too. And after the destruction of Sensei and acquiring his eye in the place of where the synthetic one was, she starts to realize how tunnel vision she was. She realizes the mistakes she made. Even if what she is trying to do seemed good and morally just to her, she not only carried out literal genocide on her past friends and family, but also did without any kind of remorse. In addition, Phos starts to show remorse for her actions only after becoming pseudo-human. By becoming pseudo-human, she might have developed a trait of empathy. Understanding how the gems felt, she started to regret her actions and wish for the gems to be brought back. And now Phos is destined to suffer for thousands of years as Sensei powers slowly transfer to her. She's now facing the consequences of her ruthless actions, and she knows it. Phos has started to redeem herself by understanding the wrongness of her actions. She has started to understand the consequences of the changes she underwent throughout the story, the consequences of the actions and decisions she made, the consequences of her twisted morality and change. Thank you for watching this video. I'm sure that I missed some important details, so be sure to point them out in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter or join my Discord server too. All of the links are in the description. Now, I'm off to jacking off to Sensing Rocks, and remember, Phos did nothing wrong. Happy New Year. Oh wait, fuck, it's February? Happy Valentine's Day, I guess. Peace.